Hello everyone. Once again I am back with the first published novel of Thomas Hardy, that is the Desperate Remedies. You will not confuse with the first drafted or written novel. The first drafted or the written novel of Thomas Hardy, The Poor Man and the Lady, 1867-68 around, but on the advice of his mentor, you can say George Meredith, he dropped the idea of publishing it. So he came with the Desperate Remedies in the year 1871. This novel was published by Tinsley Brothers anonymously. Anonymously, anonymously, without the name of any particular person. That is called anonymously. So Hardy's first novel was published, that was the Desperate Remedies, anonymously, without the name of Thomas Hardy as the novelist, in the year 1871. So now let's look at the plot structure of this novel with certain important characters of this novel. Desperate Remedies, 1871, first published novel. Remember this, first published novel, not first drafted novels. Released anonymously, without the name of Thomas Hardy as the novelist, by Tinsley Brothers. Remember this. This is important point. This point can be important for net examination and PGT even. First written, The Poor Man and the Lady, I told you, the first novel that Thomas Hardy drafted or Thomas Hardy wrote in 1867-68 around was The Poor Man and the Lady. But unfortunately, he could not publish it. Why? Because George Meredith, his mentor, found that the novel had certain complications. The novel did not have so many chapters or so many, you can say, so many things required for a novel to be published. So on the advice of George Meredith, he dropped the idea of publishing it. So he came with Desperate Remedies in the year 1871. Plot summary. So see, Cytherea, central female character. Remember, Cytherea is the central female character. Being poor, works as lady's maid to an abnormal old woman, Miss Alcliffe. Remember this. Cytherea, central female character. She is driven by her poverty, or because of being poor, or extremely poor, you can say. Because of being extremely poor, she has to accept a situation, a job of a lady's maid. Lady's maid, this is a job of an attendant. Attendant to an abnormal old lady. Miss Aldcliffe. The lady she becomes attendant to is not a normal kind of lady, old as well as senile. She has mental issues. But since Cytherea is in a need, she is in need to support her sick brother. So she is left with only one choice, that is to accept the job of an attendant to a mentally abnormal lady. Her father was in love but couldn't wed. And see, when Miss Aldcliffe was a young woman, young lady, at that time, Cytherea's father fell in love with that lady, but he failed to marry. And probably this old lady knows this fact, and now she wants to torment, or she wants to inflict suffering to this young woman, young beautiful woman. Cytherea in love with young architect Edward Springrove. You can say this, the central character or the protagonist of the novel is what? Edward Springrove. And Cytherea actually secretly she falls in love with this young architect, that is Edward Springrove. But very soon Cytherea discovers that this young man, this young architect is is engaged to a lady he does not love. He does not like. Engaged to a woman he does not love or like. So see, one thing, I use the word lady for the woman. Just Edward Springrove engages, that is not correct. Lady should be used for a woman who is holding some position or some rank. So Cytherea falls in love with this young architect, that is Edward Springrove, but very soon she discovers that this young man is betrothed, engaged to a woman he does not love. See, get to know the architect engages to a woman he doesn't love. To support her sick brother, Cytherea accepts Aeneas Manston, illegitimate son to Miss Elcliffe. Now, here one thing is clear. Miss Elcliffe has an illegitimate son. Illegitime, legitimate. Illegitimate means legal, that is valid. Biological child is called legitimate child. But that illegal son, illegal child, a child outside the marriage, a baby outside the marriage is called illegitimate. So very soon the readers get to know that Miss Elcliffe has an illegitimate son, and the name of her illegitimate son is Aeneas Manston. And Cytherea, she just you can say that this old lady creates a kind of a situation. She creates such a kind of situation that Cytherea has to say yes to her marriage with the illegitimate son of this old abnormal lady, that is Manston. So since Cytherea has a brother, he is sick, so in order to support her brother, she has to accept the hand of the illegitimate son to this old abnormal lady she is an attendant to. Remember this. Whose wife believed to be perished in a fire, and what kind of just a news is spread in the vicinity where these people live, that Mr. Manston, illegitimate son to the old lady, had a wife, but in but in a fire. Once his house was on fire, his house caught fire, and in that fire it is said that Mr. Manston lost his wife. His wife was killed in that fire. It is to discover that he killed his wife in an argument and brings in an impostor to escape punishment. But in the due course, as the plot develops, we get to know that actually Mr. Manston's wife did not die or was not killed by a fire, by a house fire, but actually once he had a heated kind of argument with his own wife, and when he had that heated kind of argument, he lost his temper, and in extreme rage, or you can say in extreme anger, he killed his wife. But in order to escape the punishment, in order to escape in order to dodge the police or dodge the, you can say, law, he brings in another woman and introduces her as his wife. But that woman he introduces or brings in place of his own killed wife is none other than only an impostor. Impostor, a hypocrite, one who only pretends to be somebody that he or she is in actuality not. Like if I pretend to be a doctor, but in reality I'm not a doctor, but a common man, I am a bloody impostor. I am only and only a hypocrite. So the woman he brings in and introduces as his wife is only a hypocrite, only an impostor, only to escape punishment. In the end of the novel, Manston attempts to abduct Cytherea but goes vain as Edward comes for her rescue. So what happens in the end when Manston fails to win the heart of this young lady Cytherea? What does he try to do? He tries to commit another crime by abducting. He tries to abduct, 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 kidnap. He tries to kidnap the lady, but the moment he's just going to abduct her, who appears on the scene? Edward Springrove, the young architect. Just as Cytherea, secretly in love, appears and rescues her from being kidnapped. In the due course, Manston kills himself in prison. Later, he is arrested and put behind the bars, but there in the prison, one day he commits suicide. Who? Mr. Manston, the illegitimate son to the old abnormal lady. The novel ends happily with the marriage of Edward and Cytherea, and in this way the novel has a happy ending. As you all of know that in Hardy's novel, fate and chance play a very, very important role. Why? Because to some extent, Hardy was a man who believed in fate and chance. So this novel has a happy ending. Why? Because in the end of the novel, what happens? Cytherea and young architect Edward Springrove, they marry and settle as husband and wife comfortably. So the novel has gothic elements of romance, blackmailing, murder, etc. So hope this summary of This novel will help you understand this novel.